Videos are flooding social media from all over the world of celebrations, right? So I've made my own position clear, but there's no denying that the vast majority of Iranians are thrilled that this terrible, terrible man, the brutal supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is dead. Many of them are coming from inside Iran, where this guy's iron-fisted rule is no more, but not just from inside Iran. There's an ex-user of Vahid Online who captured this video of Iranians tearing down a statue of the Ayatollah in southern Iran. The user writing, "Am I dreaming? Hello, new world." Watch. Statue falls. Fires are burning. Jubilant, mostly young men celebrating in this particular video. Either that or someone caught on fire. I mean, the scream, it doesn't sound like a scream of jubilance, but we understand from the context that it is. Women specifically have been at the forefront of a lot of these celebrations, defying decades of enforced hijab laws. We just discussed that with Sohrab. Like this crowd dancing without the headdress to music in the streets of Karaj near Tehran. There was extraordinary video out of London showing what we presume are Iranian expats dancing in the streets next to Israeli expats living there. So that was quite a sight. Here domestically, we saw Iranian Americans take to the streets across the nation in large cities to celebrate the fall of the Ayatollah and the chance at something better for many of their family members who are still there. We have friends who are among those cheering this for that very reason. Had to leave Iran because of the brutal regime, but not all the family members did. And therefore, they haven't been able to see their family members. Their kids haven't been able to see their grandparents and so on. And now there's the possibility that things are changing. As I said at the top of the first hour, there's really no disputing that this does provide good news to the Iranians. I mean, the death of the Ayatollah seems like it's good news for the Iranians, no matter how you look at it. It's the question of whether it's what's going to happen next, and putting American troops on the line in this way will long-term be good for America. And that's where we bring in Rich Lowry, editor-in-chief of National Review, and Charles C.W. Cooke, senior writer for National Review and host of the Charles C.W. Cooke podcast. You can find all of their work by becoming an NR Plus subscriber, which you should absolutely do because you'll be smarter and you will thank me. Guys, welcome back. Yeah. All right, Rich, take us down the neocon route and make the case for why this was the right move.
Yeah, so I'm not going to play labels with you, but I've never considered myself a neocon. That said, I'm supportive of what Trump...
actually don't consider you a neocon either. I think like National Review has neocons at it who write
that's true.
in that voice. But I agree. Myself. I've never put you or Charles in that.
Yeah, so that aside, I'm supportive of what President Trump's trying to do here. This regime has been at war with the United States for nearly 50 years, has blood on their hands up to their elbows. And the unwritten rule has been they get to hit us and we don't get to hit them back directly. Trump made it clear he's not going to accept that rule last year with the June raid, and now has made it even clearer. So I think it'd be a very good thing, and I think this will happen if we flatten their nuclear capabilities, their missile capabilities, and significantly diminish their military. And it'd be a good thing if you get a more reasonable or a different government. Now, I say all that with misgivings and criticisms, some of which overlap with what Sohrab was saying. One, it's kind of crazy that there was basically no sustained public case for this in advance of this major military operation. You get the State of the Union address last week where this was an afterthought, came in maybe the 95th or 100th minute. And I think even if he technically has legal authority, he should have gone to Congress to get an authorization, one. Two, obviously, it's extremely difficult to do regime change from the air. And even if you do affect regime change, you have no idea and very little control over what's going to come next. Now, I think it's likely you can imagine some scenarios where what comes next would be worse for us, but hard to imagine. hard to imagine. And there's some chance he'll get a more reasonable posture from the regime out of this. He'll get a Dulce Rodriguez type candidate, even though, he said we've maybe killed some of those in the initial days, or a popular revolution. But you don't know what it's going to be. I mean, this total guesswork behind what's behind door number 3 here. And then finally, the rhetoric, and we heard it in the clip you played from him at the top there, 95% of which I agree with from President Trump. But the idea there was any imminent threat from Iran or some breakout that was going to happen in days or weeks such that we had to do this now is preposterous. This is obviously a target of opportunity.
It's not true.
Drew his attention first when you had the revolt and, tens of thousands of people gunned down in the streets. And then, given what's happened over the last year or two, basically held harmless against air attacks. So it was a target of opportunity. I understand why he's doing it. I hope it succeeds. But I'm not, there are problems I have with this as well.
Think about this. In 2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot price. Okay, $20,000 got you 33 ounces. At today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. That would have been a very good investment. And that's why so many smart Americans do diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals. They're thinking about what's going to happen in the next 20 years. And it's also why you should consider buying gold from Birch Gold Group. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth. And today, it is a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. All you have to do is text MK to the number 989898, and that will give you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation. It's just useful information from which you can make a decision. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold. Now that's peace of mind. Again, text MK to 989898 today. Charles, how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm agnostic. I hope it works out. I'm not against it. I'm not a cheerleader for it. I think that this should have gone through Congress, and I think it should for a couple of reasons. First, I believe that that's how the Constitution expects us to proceed. But also, I think it's good for us as a polity to have the argument. I know a good number of people who live around me, some on my street, who came out on Saturday morning and said to me, "Oh, you follow politics? What's this thing in Iran?" And that seems a very strange setup for an incursion of this importance. The objectives of this seem to be all over the place. Trump has said over and over again a whole bunch of different things. He's been quite prolix on the phone with various journalists, but each time he's changed the reasoning. Now, all of those reasonings are good, right? They are that the Iranian theocracy is a dictatorship. It is. That Iran is effectively at war with the United States and has targeted us for 45 years and killed our people and paid other people to kill our people. It has. And that Iran is trying to destabilize the Middle East, including what it wants to do ultimately, which is nuke Israel. That's also true. But it would be good, I think, if we had one coherent message as to what it is that we're doing here. So I worry, first off, that we don't, and I worry that the public hasn't been prepared for this, which is going to lead to, and in fact already has led to, deaths. But that doesn't mean that I'm against it. I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know how this is going to end. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this is going to end. And I really would have liked a sustained debate in Congress or otherwise so that I could have heard lots of different people making the case as to whether it was a good or bad idea, what the risks were, what the risks of not going in were. The one thing I am sure about, and on this Rich and I absolutely agree, is that the notion that this was a defensive act is ridiculous. Again, that doesn't mean I'm against it, but this was not defensive. It was not timely. The president was not in the same sort of circumstances he would find himself in if, say, the United States were invaded. This is a choice. This was a change in American policy in the region. It wasn't that we suddenly had to act. Funnily enough, the last two times you could make that case. You could say Iran is too close to getting a nuclear weapon for our liking. We are going to act. We did. And you could say the Iranians are gunning down the people of Iran in the street, and we're going to go in on a humanitarian basis right now. But this time, this is different. And I just don't like the sleight of hand, even if I'm open to being persuaded that the action is necessary.
You know, Rich, this morning, Britt Hume was tweeting about imminent threat, saying, why should we wait for an imminent threat? Like, why? If we waited for it to be truly imminent, and Iran, when it comes to a nuclear weapon or, you know, ballistic missiles that could hit the United States, we'd be criticizing the Trump administration for not doing something earlier. I think the reason we're debating it is because Trump said there was an imminent threat, and that's the reason we did it. Yes. And then all this reporting immediately came out saying, no, there wasn't. And Trump's own officials had briefed Congress on Sunday saying there wasn't one. So it's like the president created that own, you know, his own messaging problem there by offering that as a rationale. But putting to the side the fact that, you know, the president probably shouldn't have said that. What about Britt's point of why would we wait until it was an imminent threat before we took action?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a sound point, but I don't think you need an imminent threat in order to do this. In fact, you want to do it before it's imminent. You want to do it when their air defenses are down. You want to do it when the regime is weak. So there are all sorts of reasons you do it now, but it is just a target of opportunity. It's not driven by imminence. So don't say it's driven by imminence, but every U.S. government, this is where they go. They go two places naturally. One is the war for freedom. One, it's an imminent threat, right? And here on the regime change part of it, I think there's still ambiguity about what he's really going to settle for. As Charlie says, he's said different things in different interviews, which suggests his state of mind is up for grabs about this as well. And it is a war for regime change at the moment, but that doesn't mean that Trump. Would you be shocked if 2 days from now he says we've destroyed all their nuclear capabilities or missile capabilities, they have no Navy anymore, and I gave the Iranian people a chance, and hopefully they'll take advantage of it, but we're stopping? I wouldn't be totally shocked by that.
No, I'm really hoping that's what he does.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think it's very much an open question. But I just remember, Megyn, being in Iraq in 2007 and 2008 as a journalist, and we had 150 guys on the ground. And we have a president, this guy named al-Maliki. Now, there's a Democratic element because we actually had elections in Iraq, but we didn't have control over him. And in fact, we knew he was a bad guy. He knew he was a tool of Iran. And with 150 guys on the ground, we couldn't change that, or we couldn't control them. So again, This is opening up door 3 without knowing what's behind it. I'm inclined to do that because I think this regime is so terrible. You know, you can imagine awful outcomes. Civil war, you know, would be terrible for the Iranian people. Not sure it's actually worse for us, but I think this regime, anti-Americanism in its DNA, arguably the most anti-American regime on the planet, again, with blood on its hands throughout decades since the inception of the regime. So I'm willing to see what's behind that door. But again, I'm not confident of the outcome or whether we'll be able to do it.
I mean, Rich, this is funny because I told the audience this in the first hour that Doug and I, my husband and I, are disagreeing on this one. A friendly, loving disagreement, but he's very much in favor of what Trump is doing, and I'm not. And the point Doug made, and it was a fair point, was Trump's not starting a war. They've been at war with us. He's just the first president who's willing to acknowledge it and engage.
Yeah, that I agree with Doug. Can we get Doug on so I get a little more support here? I think that's definitely true.
But can you expand on that? Because, I mean, of course, as a news anchor, I have been covering all these years the number of times that Iran does attack American properties or troops stationed here, there, or elsewhere, or through its proxies, is constantly like, I don't mean to minimize it, but just like a dog, like a junkyard dog in a car lot, biting us constantly, hurting us constantly. So it never blows up into a full, like, they take us out or they do a massive attack on the homeland. But he is responsible for the death of, Trump said, thousands of Americans. I don't know what the number would be, but certainly in Iraq, Iran caused a lot of American servicemen and women to die.
Yeah, 603 is the technical number. I don't know how they arrive at that. But I think Trump also, on this question, is this consistent with Trump and his philosophy? People who expected him to be an isolationist were wrong. They're neocons who thought he was an isolationist. They were wrong. The people on Trump's own side thought he was an isolationist. They're wrong. As we've seen over the last year or so, the reflex is towards action. And I think the major theme of the second term is there are a whole bunch of things he kind of thought about or wanted to do the first term, whether it's, can I fire a bunch of federal workers and kneecap federal departments and agencies that I don't like? No, sir, you can't do that. Can I prosecute my political enemies? No, sir, you better not do that. Can I kill drug runners in the Caribbean? No, sir, you can't do it. And this may have been something he thought about as well. Certainly he's been consistent, very consistent. They can't have a weapon. And going back to 1980, he's saying, let's just take them out. This regime is terrible. So I think this is one of those things where
there's a soundbite making its way on the internet right now of Trump back in 1980 saying, why would we let them have our hostages for 444 days? It's inexcusable. Keep going.
Right. So I was just going to say, this is just one of those things where he's figured out, you know what? I can do it. No one's going to stop me. Now, that doesn't mean, that's not the affirmative case on the merits for doing it, but that's just explaining his mindset here, I think.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.